Many of us work with investors. We use their money to buy self-storage. And we often tell these investors that after a certain time period, 3, 4, 5 years, we'll give you your money back. And we show pro formas and we lay out on paper how it can look. And it usually looks real good on paper. But have you ever wondered about what does it really look like in real life? I know your investors have. I know I have. Well, let's talk about a real life case example where we did the conversion and gave the investors their initial money back plus a preferred return. My name's Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Self-Storage Quick Start Academy. And what I do is I support the small investor who wants to get in this fantastic business of self-storage or who wants to grow their self-storage business, strategically do so in a way that creates true wealth in a fulfilling career. And let's do a quick case study today on a project where I raised the capital, invested the money, bought a storage facility, went through the initial value add period, refinanced it, and gave them their money back. This happens to be the very first project that we ever went all the way through that, and we're continuing to hold it. So we purchased the facility late, and I mean late, like December 29th in 2012. So for all practical purposes, we put this project in service January 1, 2013. Now, in the book, Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, as I went through most of the book, I was chronicling a transaction that we did back then, and this happens to be that facility. But what happened is we bought the property at about an 8 cap on the seller's net operating income, the seller's NOI. So we paid about an 8 cap on that NOI. I ran my numbers and felt we could get a higher NOI based on their current income stream by adjusting some of the expenses a little bit, but primarily that's what we bought it on. Now, this was absolutely the last project I was ever able to buy that I didn't have to do an expansion to create enough value to be able to refinance it and generate the preferred return. So we'll actually look at an expansion project in a few weeks. But we bought this, put it into service, and when we bought it, the seller had grossed about $871,000. That was the gross income coming in. And that was the full 12-month year before. So if I bought it in 13, that would be 11. And then 12 looked like they were doing $930,000 gross income. So we closed on it. Now the very first thing we did is we upgraded the property, we painted a lot, we redid the office, and we started adding some income streams. We started adding retail sales, we put truck rental in there. Later in the project we started with tenant insurance when our state allowed us to start selling tenant insurance. And we raised rents every single chance we could. We knew the submarket and when we could raise the rents. Now, none of this was huge stuff. I mean, I'm not doubling the size. This is all incremental stuff. When we bought the facility, the seller was getting $7.50 a square foot. Now, that includes all the parking factored in there. But he was getting $7.50 a square foot, and he was at 88% occupancy. So at the end of the first 12 months, tightening up on the management and the collections, keeping the economic to the physical occupancy a little bit tighter, and adding the different income streams, our first year's income went to $1 million to about $762 a square foot. And our occupancy was at 93% at the end of year one. So again, no huge play here, just a number of small incremental plays. And we were getting almost $200,000 more than he'd gotten a few years ago, and $100,000 more than he had received the last 12 months that they owned the property. So you see, no major play. A lot of small stuff in the first year added $100,000 more to the income, and we got the net operating income up by tightening up on the expenses. I got rid of the yellow pages. It's very interesting. We had a yellow page contract that we inherited that had to run another 10 months. And you know, I track a lot. Each one of those leases cost me $3,400 in expenses from the yellow pages. And the average value of a client back then was only about $2,200. So every time somebody rented that came from the yellow pages, we lost money. That was also, coincidentally, the last yellow page contract that we've had for running in the yellow pages. Now this location turned out to be a killer location for truck rental. The previous owner did not have it. They had one truck that they owned, and they would let people use it for free to move in, and we sold that truck and we put truck rental in there. And after a couple years, we were getting our number one year, I think we had $66,000 in commission income. And truck rental income pretty much goes to the bottom line because you don't have any expense in it. We use that to bonus employees and to hire an extra employee with the income generated from the truck income. So we kept our eye on the ball, raised the rents whenever we could. When I could add additional income streams like tenant insurance, we did. And slowly, after about 4 years, we got the income up to over $8 a foot, pushing 8.5 a foot. Not a huge jump. But we had all of these different income streams coming in. And 4 years later, we were generating gross incomes of around $1,377,000 with a net income, NOI, of $676,000. Now, the unusual thing about this property is it had a land lease on it. So the cost of that land lease is included in the operating expenses. So after paying the land lease, we still had the $676,000. And I just figured if I could at least get an 8 cap, which wouldn't be that hard to do in 2017, it seemed like, the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, if I can get an 8 cap, properties we're buying, we're seeing them on the market for 5 and 6 caps. I could refinance it, have enough money to pay our investors back, and this property we've been paying the preferred return since the day we bought it. And we actually were ahead of what we owed them. So I got excited. We could do the conversion earlier than I thought, give them their money back. And in our business model, once the conversion happens, then we, the common members, the people who put the deal together and guarantee the loan, then we start getting a substantial increase in the cash flow. So we were excited to get started. We applied because of the land lease. I just went back to the bank where we got the initial loan, applied for a refinance. They were excited to do it. And when we got the appraisal back, the appraisal was at an 8.5 cap because of the land lease. I argued, I showed comps, I went to the bank and showed them why this was a mistake. But at the end of the day, they didn't change the appraisal. I needed about 8.4 to 8.5 million to cause the conversion. The appraisal, disappointingly enough, came in at 7,600,000. I was dejected. I mean, I was like, did I really make a mistake doing this deal with the land lease? Is this going to be this difficult in this environment to refinance and cause the conversion? What happens when the recession hits and cap rates start going up? Did I really make that big a mistake? But I don't think so. So I didn't apply for a conduit, a CMB loan. And I thought, well, what do I have to lose? So we interviewed a number of people. One of my partners suggested a person. We got in contact with this person, and they went through all of our numbers, all of our records, and he said, I don't see why I couldn't get this on a 6 cap. A 6 cap would be over $11 million. So we applied. We applied for the loan, paid all the deposit up front, paid for another appraisal, went through 3 or 4 months of work getting stuff there, and we got an offer from a lender to finance the property, and it wasn't a 6 cap, but it was dang close. The appraisal came in at $10,400,000. Now think about that. Appraisal number 1, 7.6. Appraisal number 2, 10.4. Both values on the same income stream. That's how wide some of these appraisals can get. We were really excited, but there was one catch. We had to extend the land lease another 12 years to get this loan. So 12 years on a land lease, I didn't think that would be that big a deal. We called the land lease owner up, asked, we're trying to refinance, will you extend this 12 years so we can put a loan on it? And the land lease owner's attorney was an adamant no way will we extend this lease. So once again, I'm dejected. I mean, did I make that big a mistake? Am I like that stupid? I'm out here helping people and get in the storage business, and I make a mistake like this. But then I got over it, sat there and looked, and there's always a solution to every problem. So I looked at the numbers. Dang good appraisal. In fact, we were going to have extra money. I had enough money to cause the conversion, and then had over almost $700,000 more that we could distribute as a bonus. So I just decided to take some of that money, and I started throwing the money at the land lease owner, and we got it up to about $100,000. So for a $100,000 one-time fee, they would extend that lease, and that still left a great amount of money to distribute to the partners. And they got a great return and a great kicker at the time we did the conversion and gave them all their money back. Now, would you want to pay $100,000 to extend a land lease? Well, no, I didn't want to either. But I was able to achieve the goals that I wanted to achieve. So we went to the closing, caused the conversion, investors got their initial money back, everybody got a bonus, and the land lease owner got a nice bonus too. That was a conversion. Now, the thing is, if we can do it, making all the mistakes that we make, if we can cause a conversion like that, you can too, if you're working with investors. Here's the thing though. The key to success is not how well you implement Plan A. Plan A is usually all that stuff in our head. But it's how well do you implement Plan B and Plan C, and not take no for an answer and do the next thing that there is to do till you find the route to achieve the goal. Our investors didn't know all that we had to go through. They knew some of it. They knew it took longer, but they didn't get a blow-by-blow description. In their world, they invested money, they got all their money back plus a bonus, and it came back quicker than they thought. So the lesson here is 1, no big moves, just a lot of small incremental increases that when put together created millions of dollars worth of additional value. 2, timing has a lot to do with it. I timed it when we were at a peak in the market, or maybe a little bit past the peak, but we were at a very good time in the economic cycle, and we were able to cause the refinance. 3, always go through the barriers that are thrown up at you. And I will tell you, no matter, I don't know what they will be for you, I just know there will be barriers. And go with plan B, plan C. Stay with it long enough and you will find a route to achieve your goals. That's how we caused that conversion. And I'll share a couple of other histories of projects that we've done, and I will also bring a couple of other people I've worked with on and have them share with you some of their successes. We'll do some interviews with some people in the upcoming months. So if you're working with investors and wondering, do you think can I hit the numbers that are in this pro forma? That's an example of how we did it. So thank you very much. My name's Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Storage World Analyzer. When we laid the cash flows out before we ever put this project into service, we used the analyzer to do it, and that was what we showed our investors, that here are the projected cash flows, and that's what had them invest their money with us. And we were able to beat those cash flows. So if you're not using the Storage World Analyzer, I invite you to at least explore it and see if it's something you want to consider. Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage.com, and then look at Storage World Analyzer, or go to StorageWorldAnalyzer.com. Great tool, powerful tool. So thank you very much. I look forward to being with you next week. Next week we're going to talk about some of the mistakes I've made. Usually we're able to hit the NOI line very close and very accurately. Why? Because I've always had my attention on that line. But where I've made the most mistakes is below that. In self-storage, there's not that many things going on below the net operating income line. But I'm learning the investor's experience is everything below that NOI line. So we'll talk a little bit about that next week. I look forward to being with you then.